Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, piracetam, modafinil, Nupep, uridine monophosphate. I mean, phenylpiracetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 66 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Ballo, and this episode is going to be a special one. We're going to talk about taking nootropics to impress the lovely ladies. Now, look, if you're a woman listening to this, sorry, we might do a podcast. I mean, look, everything we talk about is, I guess, going to apply to impressing and wooing a male too, using nootropics. But we're going to talk about it from the context of essentially doing better with women. If you're pretty terrible with women, terrible striking up conversations with girls, and sort of terrible out in public, being socially effective with girls as it relates to nootropics. So strap in, my friends. This is going to be a pretty interesting podcast that I think a lot of folks are going to get a lot of benefit from, because there's layover, there's overlap between being socially effective as a person that's trying to date the other sex, and being, with nootropics, and being socially effective, period. With nootropics. There are a lot of great takeaways. We'll talk about phenibut. We'll talk about some other cool stuff coming up. A couple announcements right now. This is what's the date today? Somewhere around the 10th or 12th or something. Okay, it's the 12th of February 2018. If you're listening to this on the 12th of February 2018, and then throughout this entire week, it is Monday. This special will last through this coming weekend, so you get at least 7 days. We are running a special where everything at the Cortex Labs website is $8 off using the coupon code 8. Okay, it's just the number 8. You just program the number 8 in where it says apply coupon code on the checkout page or the cart page at livecortex.com with any of our powerful products. Those products support this broadcast. Here they are. Number 1, the Cortex Nootropic Stack. Powerful pre-made nootropic stack. Cortex is used by people all around the world. We're talking about business professionals in Ireland, folks that sit on Wall Street and trade every day, doctors, pharmaceutical sales representatives, everybody else in between uses the Cortex stack because it is one of those stacks that just turns on mental energy. I mean, we made a stack that we wanted folks to go, wow, I noticed this stack, right? That was one of the chief complaints with a lot of their stacks. Like folks just didn't notice it that well. They were a little focused, a little better, a little working memory, but nothing really strong. We changed the game with a strong stack. It's called Cortex. Get it right now at livecortex.com, livecortex.com. Again, coupon code 8 takes Cortex all the way down to $24 right now. Coupon code 8. We've got 5 digital nootropic stack lists. I'll quickly run through them. I'll just give you the titles. There's Smarter, Better, Faster that teaches you how to use nootropics and gives you many stacks. There's the Nupep Pro stack list. That's a whole guide on Nupep with many oral, nasal, and sublingual stacks written out so you can take them. They're very powerful. The Racetam God Guide, that is all Racetam stacks. The nootropic stacks for the business professional, that's 100 productivity-oriented stacks. And then if you really are into aniracetam, we have a guide called The Beginner's Guide to Aniracetam, which gives you 25 powerful aniracetam stacks and a whole lot of other great stuff about aniracetam. We've got a nootropics consulting service. It's 40 minutes with me over a Skype call and 15 additional email correspondences. Coupon code applies to that too. That coupon code is, again, the number 8. Get all the stuff at livecortex.com. Okay, so here is the deal. First, I kind of want to just sort of set a preface and say that I definitely do think that you could have success in dating women, and of course, for women, like we said at the beginning, men too, with nootropics. And the overarching, sort of the base level reason, as you might imagine, is that you just perform better in the area of verbal fluency and social capacity. So you're not umming and anding, and you're just not pausing. You know how to make conversation when your brain is working really well. So I would definitely say green light, definitely there's a great correlation. And oftentimes you'll actually find people, I talk to people, I've experienced this myself, that take nootropics in situations where they're going to go out in public and mingle with people so that their verbal fluency in that time is significantly better, and they can go interact with folks and perform better. If you think about people that are out in public performing or just interacting socially with folks, whether they're talkative, right? They're always talking. They always know how to say what's on their mind. They know how to articulate it well. They never really run into issues. And if you think about men who are good with women, that's one of the things that they're good at. They're good at striking up conversations. They're good at being verbally fluent. As a result, they're very confident. Okay, so let's talk about that first. Confidence. Confidence in interacting with women is one of the most important things. It's paramount. It is paramount in being able to do it. A woman is, even despite like the new conditioning that women seem to have these days where they hate alpha males, a lot of women truly, if they're honest with themselves at their core, they do like a strong presence of a strong male, not the captain of the football team that's like, yeah, let's drink, let's take knives and stab beers and drink them from the side and then crush them. But they want a man who has a purpose and who's driven in life and who's doing things and who has confidence. That's just one of the things that women like. And so if you can establish a good verbal fluency functionality, working memory functionality, right? And, we're getting into things like theanine and phenibut and ashwagandha, a good, nice, sort of relaxed state about you, but that also exudes confidence. And that's something that's going to pass on to a woman and make her feel comfortable and content. Dating and being around women is, they want a strong, confident, bold male presence. They like to be safe around that, and they feel good. They can open up, and they can get into their feminine kind of energy when you have that presence around them. And so that's kind of the overarching thing. Confidence is super significant, and when you're taking the right nootropics, you can have better verbal fluency, which is going to make you a lot more confident to interact with women, and that will increase your chances of doing what you're going to do, hanging out, hooking up, having fun, doing the things that dudes want to do with women. So let's break down a little bit on the verbal fluency stuff. What I think is some of the best nootropics to take for that particular situation. And we'll start with racetams. Look, the racetams typically are the kind of nootropics to take if you're going to be functionally effective in a particularly cerebral task, just stuff you want to get done that your brain is going to need to work really good in order for you to achieve the thing you're trying to achieve. So if you're working on a spreadsheet and you need to look through it all, your brain needs to work better. If you're doing some sort of a math equation or a set of math equations you're studying for school and college, that's one of the major uses of nootropics, the major applications. It's like so much of the consulting clients that we get on our consulting service for nootropics are college students in medical school and otherwise school trying to perform well. And so they use racetams. And so they're typically for working memory and for processing capacity, but oxiracetam particularly is massively powerful for verbal fluency, and it sort of puts the brain in a place where it's very resourceful, it's very fluid, and I think a fluid and resourceful brain and the capacity to access your vocabulary and the capacity to deliver sentences really well is totally just means a verbally fluent man, and that projects confidence onto a woman, and that makes oxiracetam a pretty cool nootropic stack to take. There's a nootropic compound to take before going out. 500, 700 milligrams of oxiracetam, low dose CDP, choline, or alpha GPC. If you require a choline source with your racetam, and not everybody's going to. You'll have to figure that out. I think Smarter, Better, Faster, which is our digital nootropics guide. It's a book basically that's digital. That is the best guide, I think, for explaining when you need, how to determine how much choline you're going to need and whether or not you're going to need a particular choline source with certain racetams. But otherwise, I'd say 500 to 700 milligrams of oxiracetam and 300 to 500 milligrams of choline bitartrate is a great strategy for inducing that. The next combination of things that is one of the best verbal fluency stacks like I've ever come across is a Noopept uridine CDP choline B complex stack. It basically goes like this: 10 milligrams of Noopept, 150 milligrams of uridine monophosphate, 80 milligrams of CDP choline, and a B complex. So the uridine and the CDP choline combinations are nearly exactly what we put in Cortex, our stack. But that's why Cortex is such a strong verbal fluency stack, because it's that combination right there is something no one ever put together in the world of nootropics. We put it together first. I put it together running a company 18 hours a day years ago. It was like, this is like modafinil. I mean, except for I have verbal fluency. Modafinil kind of speeds everything up. This stack just makes everything function incredibly well. So that's a great stack for verbal fluency. And I got to tell you, when I first brought Noopept on board with the uridine monophosphate, the CDP choline, and the B complex, the verbal fluency that I got from it was crazy. I was running one of my old companies. It was an iPad repair company. And I just remember sitting there, like we were at a time where we were trying to grow. So we were reaching out to a lot of people to do business development deals. And these were schools and other big organizations that we were trying to get their business. And so I was on essentially sales calls kind of all day. I was like talking between that and trying to run the company. And that day, I remember the day specifically taking this Noopept, uridine, CDP choline, B complex stack, and my verbal fluency was so good. I'm just sitting there like killing it, talking to folks. Like, I have zero pauses in my speech, and everything was all my sentences were flowing super smoothly. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what is different? I'm like, oh, I brought the Noopept into this uridine CDP choline stack, and I was riding like this high of ultra verbal fluency. So that's one good stack to take in communicating with women. I mean, an hour before you go out and you're going to go out on a date, or you're going to go out and interact with women at a restaurant or a bar or something, a place where maybe your friends go, that girls are going to be there, and you want to be super verbally fluent. That is a great stack to take. And now look, other cholinergics, work the same. I mean, Noopept by itself for a lot of folks improves their verbal fluency. Fasiracetam is a great nootropic that improves verbal fluency for a lot of folks. Coliracetam, in a 5 to 20 milligram dose, improves verbal fluency for a lot of people. Phenylpiracetam in 25 to 250 milligram dose range, whatever kind of works out for you. Most folks find it sweet spot at 75 milligrams. That works really well for verbal fluency and mental energy for a lot of people. So those are, probably my go-tos. Alcar by itself would also be exceptionally well for verbal fluency, something like 300 to 600 milligrams. But let's shift gears to the tranquility nootropics for a second, because these are, I think, for a lot of people that are particularly high strung, they talk too fast, they're thinking too quickly, so they can't even really get on some sort of nice, even, confident level that allows them to project hume and have charm and be decisive and be confident with women, because their brains are just working too quick, and they've got anxiety in the back of their heads that makes their hearts pound when they see even a mildly pretty chick and she looks at them. They freak out. People freak out, right? And so for those folks, things like theanine, ashwagandha, and phenibut are going to be particularly helpful. And I want to take you into a story, just a quick story of a consulting client of ours from Italy who requested our help for studying. I mean, he's in college. He's doing some sort of significant medical degree. I forget what it was. It was like a specialty. It's not just medical school. He was specializing in something like neuroscience or whatever, some specialty. And so he had a large workload. He wanted nootropics to take for brain performance, to perform well in college. But one of the other things that he was really interested in doing, it was this is what his hobby was, to pick chicks up. After he studied and took tests and did, his school stuff for the day, and sometimes in between, he made it a point to try to get me to to advise him on nootropic stacks that he could take to help him to flirt with girls and go get girls. He would actually literally go out and just be interacting with women through the university setting, and he would just be picking up chicks all day. That's what this guy did. And so he's like, what can I take that'll relax me, that'll put me in a state where I'm good and confident, I feel good, you know what I mean? I'm not inhibited in any sort of way, and all of my inhibitions kind of just slowly fade away. And so we talked about phenibut. Now, phenibut is this GABA receptor modulating nootropic compound. It's very, very strong. It's a lot of people take it when they're coming off of benzodiazepines, and it works. 300 to 1,000 milligrams will change the game for you. It's very calming, right? It almost takes anxiety completely away. It allows GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that inhibits anxiety and inhibits excessive anxious thoughts in your brain, to function really well. And so as a result, people get calm and they feel good about themselves, and they're, in a good state to be able to be calm and project confidence and to interact with women. So, I suggest this guy, start small, start at 150 milligrams of Phenibut, which is what I, suggest to everybody. Because if you take it for like a pretty long time and then you stop taking it, it can have a pretty serious withdrawal. And the lower you go on the dose, the less the withdrawal is. And, I suggested him to start there and see where he's at. He found a sweet spot at right around 450 milligrams of Phenibut that he would take just a couple times a week when he was going out to meet women. And within a week or so, he hit me up and he said, "Man, my whole game," and like I thought I had game with women, my whole game just leveled up. I'm so much more calm, so much more confident. Like when I go to approach women, I'm far less scared, almost not scared at all. A little bit of butterflies in my stomach. That's it. I am ready to approach these women. I feel good about going to talk to women. And this is a guy that was relatively okay at it anyway, but he was running into issues, and like everybody else does, I think if you're not really super confident and you're still kind of working at it, like you have to get really good. I mean, there's some guys that get really, really good over time. They don't need Phenibut or nothing. They're just super calm and confident, when it comes to, meeting women. But this guy's entire game leveled up from taking Phenibut, and he was just approaching some of the hottest girls, like girls he would never, ever approach otherwise. That might have been out of his league, or he just wasn't in the mood at the right time. And he's like, "Dude, I mean, now it's like some days I'm spotty, but when I take Phenibut, I'm basically just perfect. And my success rate," he wrote me an email. He's like, "My success rate is near 100%. I'm getting girls' numbers. I'm hanging out, hooking up, having fun with girls." And, I've got you and Phenibut to thank for that. So that's one interesting story of an Italian dude in Italy, in one of a university in Italy, who's taking Phenibut. And, it's helping him to function better socially around women. Pretty interesting stuff. L-theanine is another one. Theanine increases brain GABA and serotonin. These are neurotransmitters. GABA being a neurotransmitter that's inhibitory of excessive anxiety, and then serotonin, a positive mood neurotransmitter. When these things aren't functioning well in your brain, right, it's hard for a person to, to be in a good place to go communicate with women. And so, you know what I mean? So once they are able to establish a healthy functional level of these neurotransmitters in their brain, just increasing some of them, increasing serotonin a bit, increasing GABA a bit, which is demonstrated to happen via doses of L-theanine ranging from 200 to 1,000 milligrams, then people end up in a more serene state. I mean, the mechanisms are different with theanine compared to Phenibut, something like Phenibut, but I mean, we're talking about similar neurotransmitters, in GABA, and then, we're talking about serotonin with L-theanine. So I think the practical application of theanine particularly would be something like 200 to 600 milligrams, I think, to start an hour or so before you go out and you're going to interact with people in a social capacity, right? I think that for people that have some degree of anxiety when it comes to approaching women or interacting with women, that's going to take a significant edge off of that anxiety and put you in a place where approaching women is a lot easier because you're a lot calmer. Now, ashwagandha is you got to be a little careful with ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb that tones down stress levels in the body by reducing cortisol, and I imagine that has some downstream effects on GABA and serotonin as well that puts you in a nice, serene, calm state. But the thing about ashwagandha is it's so strong. I mean, especially if you're taking 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 and even upwards of 2 grams of ashwagandha, that it's so strong that it can get to the point where your verbal fluency capacity, and I guess sort of overall your drive generally is lowered. When I take Phenibut, when I take ashwagandha, I kind of don't want to take it during the day because it makes I don't want to be productive. I'd rather not work on any degree of business stuff, or any otherwise productivity stuff when I'm taking ashwagandha during the day, because it kind of shuts that part of my brain down. It tones it, everything down to the point where I kind of just want to relax and maybe watch a movie or meditate or think about some stuff. And so you kind of got to be careful. But let me just say, it works for me to take ashwagandha in 200 to 400 milligram doses. Like your dose might differ. It depends on your brain. Everything's going to depend on your brain. But that actually works for me in going and communicating with women. One of the things, this will be interesting for those of you that want to know about me, one of the things that I've started doing recently is gotten back out into the dating scene. I've realized that my life as an entrepreneur, running Cortex Labs, and I run 2 companies, frankly, this and my previous company, which still has some corporate clients left over, burns me out. Like, it has burnt me out so bad that I haven't had much of a dating life in quite some time. The last girl I dated was like a couple years ago, another businesswoman. And that was, that was a couple years ago. So I finally reached this point recently where I think I was out and I met a couple really, really cute girls, and I basically could, one of them was like, very, very pretty and very, very charming and very, very cool. And I sort of couldn't stop thinking about her for a while, which was crazy. That never happens to me, right? And I was like, so something to this girl, and that kind of made me like, all right, I've got to get back out there. And it catalyzed this whole, period of my life, like the last month and some change, where I've been like dating and going out again. And 400 or so milligrams of ashwagandha really sets the tone to calm things down in going and dating girls. It's like when you're having the conversations with them, you're just calmer. You're not so awkward. You're not so terribly ineffective socially with them. You're kind of just you've kind of just calmed everything down. Things are functioning really good and calm. And you can actually have a conversation with a woman and not feel like you're anxious about it. So that's like one of the, interesting examples and applications of ashwagandha and the general, the general strategy of taking nootropics for social situations around dating that I would suggest that I think folks would get some benefit from. But the overarching point is, when you're interacting with women, again, they want a strong alpha male presence. Now, again, not the captain of the football team, but they want a person who's sure of themselves. They don't want somebody stumbling around who's trying to be like the extra nice guy, sort of like pandering to them. They want a smooth, kind of smooth talking, confident, sort of slow talking man. And when you can project that kind of vibe, and when you can do that, your chances of, wooing a woman or getting the woman to give you the number or getting to the next date or like making her feel good and safe and secure about you increase pretty dramatically. And one of the best ways to get yourself into that state is to tone down anxiety. And of course, using phenobutene and ashwagandha is one of the greatest ways to do that. So if you're having some issues with your dating life, right out there and approaching women, if you're having some sort of anxiety issues approaching women, try taking some phenobutene, try taking some ashwagandha, try taking some L-theanine, mess around with the doses, use some of the suggestions we put out here. And I guarantee if you can get them to work for you, and you can therefore get your brain to calm down when you're approaching women, that I think your conversations are going to be a lot better, and your capacity to approach women is going to be a lot better, especially with phenobutene. Especially when you're feeling good and you're feeling calm and everything is going well. All right, that has been episode number 66 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Balla. Hey, remember the coupon code 8 gets you $8 off of anything at the Cortex Labs website. That is the powerful Cortex stack. We got folks that are in MMA. These guys are like legit MMA fighters, and they're like, my focus and therefore my training and my success in this sport has dramatically increased just by taking your Cortex stack. We got people all around the business sector that are just like, man, I'm 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours plus more productivity throughout the day and quantifiable results as a result of taking your Cortex stack. We got people that give speeches for a living. My verbal fluency has improved tremendously just from taking your Cortex stack. All around the world, folks get good benefit from the Mighty Cortex stack. Right now, Cortex is $24 using the coupon code 8. Get it at livecortex.com. And then look, if you want access to the best nootropic stacks on the planet, we're talking about some of the most elite level, high level, advanced nootropic stacks with all imaginable nootropic compounds that we discuss, like in the perfect ingredient quantities. We worked a lot of this stuff out. It's taken me 10 years. We have 5 digital guides. Get them. Get one of them. Get all of them. Probably the best one for like high level stacks is the Racetam God Guide. That thing has 80 or so Racetam stacks that are combined with a bunch of other nootropics, everyone in the book, from modafinil to caffeine theanine to theacrine to tyrosine to everything else in between. They're all digital. Get it at livecortex.com. And I wanted to mention, for those of you that are brand new to nootropics or relatively new, probably the best product to get would be the Nootropics Starter Pack. That gets you a bottle of Cortex. That's our pre-made stack, our powerful pre-made stack, and a digital copy of Smarter, Better, Faster. Smarter, Better, Faster is the tell-all guide on nootropics. It's like if you're new to nootropics, that's the thing to get. Smarter, Better, Faster is downloadable, digital, teaches you everything, gives you many stacks. Extremely powerful distinction, shows you how to cycle, tells you where to get nootropics, basically everything else in between. Get the Nootropics Starter Pack at livecortex.com. Again, the Nootropics Starter Pack gets you a bottle of Cortex and Smarter, Better, Faster. Coupon code 8 applies to that too. It takes $8 off of the price, taking it down to pretty cheap for that product. Get all that stuff at livecortex.com, livecortex.com. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Cortex Stacks. All of this stuff plus more stuff you'll never hear here gets posted on the Facebook page. Check it out. Thanks so much for listening, and rock on. Talk to you next time.